Joe.
I could also talk about my work day, but I don't think that'd be great.
That's probably against several codes.
Are you guys? Did we start yet?
Here,
Yeah.
the intro is going now.
Never mind.
We're recording. So just like in any other time, let's not talk about your patients. I wonder if I can put this on the video when you talk about it.
What?
You know what. This. Saving that for later.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another hellish episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 203, recorded on Sunday, February 24th, 2019. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Audition, the winner of the February poll pick. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Southern Korea, my boy Soju.
What up? It's your boy Soul Juice.
Soul juice?
Soul Juice.
Just let your soul glow.
I'm about to
Yeah.
juice that soul.
Do it, dog.
Sip on it. Sip on it with some vodka.
You know how we do the what is it? The connoisseur creams. It goes on and on
The
and on.
Really
stainer
starting
of shorts.
Starting
Oh,
this
Mandy,
episode with some serious substance.
Yeah, Randy missed out last episode. I had a whole spiel and everything.
You did.
Randy, you need to go back and listen.
I actually listened to that episode. I
And
have
fuck
fun.
you, Justin.
Yeah,
Damn.
you're getting a hard fuck you from somebody in this room right now.
Oh yeah. All right.
You
I
said
guess let's get the intros going.
Okay,
Done. And we can
Next
do the
up.
airing of the grievances. And then...
Yes, this is a Festivus for the rest of us. Next up, calling in from Santa Barbara, California, we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy.
That's me. That's all I got. I don't know what's going on.
Chilling,
Happy
chilling.
Death Day to all of us, really.
Happy Death Day to you, baby.
Randy, top pick 2019.
Top
I-
3 at least.
I'm ready to empty my entire bank account to purchase every DVD there is.
Good.
Do it. Give me them Blu-rays. Give me them steel cases. Got to bury them in the desert.
They're called steel books, Randy. Come on.
Who gives
Last
who gives a single shit, Blu-ray man? Come on.
I do. Bob's Blu-rays. Last but not least, also calling in from Santa Barbara, California. Welcome back, Becky.
Dicka 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 dee.
Mush mushy.
God.
Hi.
Ooh, popping a Q-Che over here.
Oh.
Q. Shay. Do
How's
you
it
feel
going?
liberated?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we're both
Wait,
liberated.
I'm
We're
liberated.
all liberated.
Somebody liberated the juice. Everybody, let's give him a round of applause.
Someone's liberated somewhere. Becky, it's a pleasure to have you on as always. I feel like this is strangely an appropriate movie to have you on because you're into some fucked up shit.
An Asian woman who kills people. Yeah,
Nah.
exactly.
That's precisely whom you are, Becky.
I would like to say fuck Justin though. I've been
Uh-huh.
meaning to
Yeah.
say
Why wait? Let's go ahead and
Why?
air out before.
because apparently this is secondhand knowledge. You maybe implied that I made
Outrage.
Randy lower his score for Happy Death Day to you.
I
I did
did.
not even go see the fucking movie. I was in the car with Randy. I was home alone watching This Is Us. So fuck you,
She
Justin.
was home crying while I was at the theater crying.
That is true. I did forget. I suggested that Randy's tone had a hint of maybe he got an earful in the car. That was my implication.
Is that you too, Brutus? Really? You're gonna
Hey, I gave it
This
props.
shit-
I said I respect her score. I only said maybe a half star.
Mhm.
Happy Death Day to you, motherfucker. How about that?
Anyway, it's all cool.
Turns out it's actually a pretty good movie, so that's chill.
I
That's
heard
a hard no.
otherwise.
It gets harder with every statement you make.
It's our first beef of the year, first true beef.
Tri-tip. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a California thing.
It oh, okay. Sorry, I'll stay in Florida. Stay in my fucking lane in Florida. Let's go ahead and take care of a little bit of housekeeping real quick. So this is our last week for you guys to vote on the March poll pick. If you choose to support us on Patreon at the $5 level or above, you can vote on a movie that we're going to talk about sometime in March. The 3 movies that are up there are House of Wax, Queen of the Damned, and Dracula 2000. And the reason those 3 shitty movies are up there for you to vote on is because the overall theme of March is movies that Randy hates.
Yes.
It's already been a pretty good month for that theme.
Turns out it's the whole year. It's the whole year. Currently, House of Wax and Dracula 2000 are tied. We need a tiebreaker, so make sure you vote while you can. Get in there.
Get in there. I need to know how much hatred to bring along with me. I can't do 2 movies of this shit.
You can't.
Ooh, double feature.
That would be a rough situation.
That'd be a hard double feature.
Yeah.
A hard road, you say?
It's a hard road.
The hardest road.
Also, quick shouts outs. We have 2 new patrons this week, actually, which is super cool. First up, Miles Bell. Thank you so much, sir, for supporting our show.
Miles.
Big dumb show. And also big thanks to Stalker Stacy for supporting our show on Patreon.
Wait.
You guys rule.
Is that dubbed by us or by her?
By us, really me, but yeah, sure, us.
Oh,
let's share it. Let's
cool.
share it.
Oh, okay.
I'm
glad we're disparaging our patrons.
Her tag.
So
She said it was
clarification,
cool, so
Randy.
everybody, we're all good. It's all good.
I could have swore one of those was BlueRayBob69@gmail.com.
Blu-ray Bob.
The new patron.
Capital
Blu-ray
69.
Bob 69. JoeBobDickBibs.com 800. That's
I
it.
think it's a mini Dick Bib 69.
Mini dick bib. Why mini? I don't need. Never mind. That's not.
It's not that big of a mess. You don't need that big of a bib. Yeah, so thanks for supporting our show, guys. It really does mean a lot to us. Seriously. Justin, you want to talk about some YouTube and Twitch stuff?
Oh man, we got YouTube videos out the ass up in this bit. We got we dropped new Bob's Blu-rays this week, so you can check that out. Bob, you covered 10 underappreciated horror films that you felt people needed to hear about. Is that correct?
That is correct. Some movies that you may or may not have heard of, but I, for some reason, don't hear a lot of chatter about. So check it out, and hopefully there's some stuff on there that you might want to watch. Hopefully.
Very cool.
Big Bob steel bookcase fucking Blu-ray discs.
69.
With laser disc.
69. 69. Bob's Betamax 69.
Yep. I finally finished up Resident Evil just in time for the end of the month, which is good because February is a little short, and that's a long-ass game. Took, I don't know, close to 8 hours, I think, to wrap that up. Yeah. So wrap that up.
Shorter than I would have thought, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there's like several campaigns too, and I can't get through all of them for the month, but wrapped up the main campaign. The squad really helped me out several times, so I really appreciate the Twitch community pulling through and helping me fucking play a game. So all that playthrough is up on YouTube now as well. I finally got around to reviewing the January game, which was Little Nightmares. I dropped a spoiler warning, but it's mainly because there's some gameplay in there. I tried not to ruin the overall story. So if you're interested in playing that game, I got a full review like we do for the movies up there on YouTube as well. And yeah, we got a new Bob's Blu-rays dropping soon already.
Robbie's reel to reels.
Big old Bob's 35 millimeter 69.
What's up, puppy?
Yep. So, and also I need a new game for March for the Twitch stream. So if anybody has any suggestions, also just the people have been beating down the door for us to get that Friday the 13th going. I told them Bob's the one hanging us up,
Oh God. Maybe
Right in the microphone.
I'll make it happen this weekend. I'll go pick up a headset and buy
guys.
The whatever, the gold, platinum, whatever. I don't know, the thing that lets me play online.
I'll let you in on it, Bob. I'll write you the list, the shopping list.
Okay. I feel like it's just those 2 things, but okay.
But yeah, YouTube has been popping off. Also, we were just like screaming, like, well, no, okay, so we needed the 100 subscribers, of course, and ever since then, you guys have been really pulling through, and like the numbers are going crazy. So we really appreciate everybody who's supporting us on YouTube as well.
Yeah, big thanks. I think that's it for the housekeeping stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about what we've been watching this week. Juice, what you been watching?
Dude, I haven't been watching anything, and I think Bex has like something really interesting to talk about. So I'm just gonna go ahead and like respectfully defer. Like I just,
Oh man, that's a lot of pressure.
Wow, that is
Coming out swinging.
I
That's a lot
just,
of pressure. It's a
I
heavy
was,
weight on your shoulders.
I was
Oh.
thinking, I was like, I haven't watched anything new, and there's really something interesting to be talked about today. So I think that needs to get a little focus here.
Becky, what you been watching?
Not much.
Cool.
Sounds like a lot of something.
Cool.
So I went down a little rabbit hole a few nights ago, doing a little, whatever, and I was on Reddit, and one thing led to another, and I ended up on.
Man, you were great at incriminating yourself for things that anything anybody could imagine. Just
Just hanging out and
just doing whatever with who you might expect.
Well, I ended up on the subreddit called Emobles, and it's basically I've heard of.
Is that where you send like nice cards to your mom and they're animated
Yes.
on email?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
That's good.
Well, I've heard of people who are there like the feedie and the feeder, like it's a relationship and the feeder like feeds someone a lot because they like people who are overweight and that's like sexually attractive, whatever.
Oh, so you're talking about pornography.
Is this pornography?
No, but the immobiles are when people do this to the point where they cannot move anymore.
Okay.
And the whole point is to like remain in bed and be like immobile in bed. To the point where like they die pretty much.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh God.
yeah, the
So
lead
they're
woman
stuff-filled.
in the industry is named Echo, the immobile. And Echo is on a oxygen tank now, and like she can't breathe by herself. But she's like 800 pounds, and people like jizz off to it all the time.
They jizz off all day.
Is there like a live feed where you just watch her or something? Like what? How do you?
Yeah, you
How
can
do
like
you-
pay to watch her. It's like,
Is that true?
yeah, it's like biggirls.com or something.
Holy shit!
I did not pay for it.
Damn.
That's
But on
I did.
I did not pay for it.
but on Pornhub you can like see like what I've been watching is fat women trying to get in and out of bed, and that is like the porn.
All right, Pornhub needs to sponsor us now. You mentioned.
Does it look anything like that?
Ah.
Tune
that
into
lady-
YouTube for some pornography.
And that lady
I'm really excited for our first YouTube video to get flagged.
and this lady that we just showed, she is something they call melting, and they really that's like another thing. They like people that melt into the bed. So there's like no space
Let your
between
imagination
them
run wild about
and
that.
the bed. Anyways, it was interesting. So one lady on the Reddit page, she was like the top post of all time, and she broke both of her ankles under her own weight. She stood up and like broke her ankles, so now she's immobile. And people are like, "Dude, that is so goddamn hot!" And people are just like freaking out about it. So
That's
There's dozens of them.
crazy. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
A baker's dozen of them.
a
I'm
girl
not
can
about
only
kink
hope.
shaming, but I am about keeping ankles not broken.
That's the thing. And people are on there and they're like, I get it. Fat girls are cute, but like these people are dying. And like that lady that we just showed, she died. So like it gets to be a little too
God,
much.
Becky, you're so appropriate for this episode. It's crazy.
It's so dark. It's so dark.
If this is anybody's first episode, or really just, I guess not even.
If you're into this, seek
Dude.
out Becky's episodes.
Yeah,
'cause
Becky could have her own podcast because Becky will talk about some shit that makes me like sick to my stomach
it'll
often.
make your soul heavy.
It's very regular too. It's like every other conversation that Becky is like having with me anyways, it seems like there's a new level of like depravity that I didn't know existed.
Like,
It
Well,
blows my mind.
There are at least 2 conversations we've had today that I don't feel comfortable talking about on this fucking podcast.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah, that's
impressive.
pretty reg.
Becky,
They're real life. I'm a reporter.
You're not a reporter.
I report the
You
evidence.
just reporting. Okay. We're not going down the grammatical rabbit hole.
I'm a
when
little
we
day
have-
drunk too, so let's be real.
Semantics.
Day drunk.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Everything's forgivable when you have a minor buzz.
Yeah.
You can watch
Anyways.
whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, have you been watching anything else, Becky? Or is
We
Just
also
the
watched a
locals.
movie last night called Dumplin', which is about a fat girl who enters a beauty contest. Appropriate.
Cool.
Win.
No, she didn't win. She got
Spoiler.
disqualified. Oh man, it's on Netflix.
Sorry, Dumpling.
It's
That
like
was
a
my
Christian.
Jennifer Aniston's in it, and she's not bad.
No, she's not bad. It's like a Pure Flicks movie, but like without the pure,
Without the pure.
just the flicks.
Okay.
It's like if you watched God's Not Dead Part 12 and you removed the God and the dead, and then it's just not. That's all that's left.
Okay.
It's kind of funny, and it's very homey. And
Features Dolly Parton and all
Oh,
that.
Dolly Parton's all up in that motherfucker.
Oh, thank God.
Drag queens. It's good.
There's drag queens, too. So it's Pure Flicks with drag queens, which I'm all over that subgenre personally. What if Pure Flicks wants to start making the drag queen section? I am interested. Sign me up.
Anyways, that's what we've been watching.
Nice.
Yeah. Or I've been watching.
Anything else, Brandy?
In a related, what you've been watching, I went whale watching this week.
Oh, that's
good.
Saw some whales out on the ocean.
Is that a euphemism, Randy?
No, it's
Oh,
whales in the
no.
ocean. Although I did make a very clever nod when I said related.
Were they melting or no?
They were swimming in the
Okay.
ocean.
They were mobile.
They were very mobile. In fact, we
Okay.
had to chase them in a boat. So
That sounds really pure and cool, Randy.
It was fun.
thanks, man. You know, I try to even out the horrors.
Of the household.
And we saw sea lions, and they were cute too. So
Saw cute sea lions. So we're here to break it down, Buttercup, with all our shit.
Buttercup, baby, news-
What you been watching, Bobby?
Oh, hey, nobody ever asked me that question. Thanks. I've been watching some.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you've been watching. I'm sorry, I've broken into rock.
That's got some pent up angst there.
no one ever asked me.
Oh,
No one ever asked me where I'm going to be in 5 years.
nobody cares.
Oh,
No, I've been watching some stuff actually. I watched the entirety of Eli Roth's History of Horror because that is now on Netflix. It's super good. There's like 7 episodes of it, and he interviews fucking everybody, even Stephen King, which, from what I understand, he's kind of difficult to nail down. He talks to Stephen King quite a bit. Jack Black is on there, which doesn't totally make sense, but I just love anything that Jack Black is a part of, so it's cool to hear him talk. Rob Zombie's on there, but he says like two words or something. Overall, it's like
because
super
he has nothing
informative.
to contribute.
I don't think that's true at all. He probably was just like stoned or something. I don't know. But yeah, all 7 episodes are totally worth watching. There's, they cover zombies, vampires. There's a 2-part episode on slashers, like ghost stories, monsters. They cover all the bases. And it's by far the best thing that Eli Roth has made. So after he makes his Thanksgiving movie, he can just go ahead and retire.
Shots
Be done.
fired at Eli Roth's son.
Go ahead and be done. At his son? I don't know
if
that
he
he's procreated.
I have
yet.
no idea.
Sorry if he has. Sorry. So check
yeah,
that
so-
out.
Real
I
quickly,
watched-
did you guys watch
yeah.
Horror Noir? Did you watch
Yeah.
Horror Noir on Shudder? Did
yeah,
we talk about that already?
yeah. We
Okay.
can talk about
Rain.
it again.
I maybe it was last week when I wasn't here, but I watched it since the last episode I was on, and it's great. So I just want to
It is.
plug real quick.
It is super good. I also watched a movie called Piercing, so we're talking about Audition tonight, which was based on a book by the same name by an author with the name of Ryu Murakami, maybe. Turns out this movie Piercing is also based on a book that he wrote. I didn't really know that until the credits started happening in the beginning of the movie. I was like, oh, holy shit, that's nuts. So Piercing is a new movie. It came out earlier this month. It's directed by the same dude that did Eyes of My Mother, which was sort of a big movie. Came out a couple years ago. It was shot in black and white. Nicholas Pesh is his name. So this movie is equally fucked up as Audition. I would say it just sort of it's shot in this like way that reminds me of like old Italian movies from the 70s, like specifically giallo movies. and the score is
Jalo.
Jalo. The score is very much influenced by them as well, to the point that like as the end credits roll, they just straight up played the theme song from Tenebrae. Like I was like, oh okay, kind of wearing their influences on the sleeve there. It was interesting enough. I didn't love it. It seems like there was no third act. Like as soon as the climax felt like it was about to start happening, the movie just kind of ended. So it was sort of a
Edging.
wet. A wet fart. It's an edging fart. Yeah, you gotta watch the next one and the next one and the next one. Eventually it'll climax.
Just like the immobiles.
Tantric film watching.
Oh God, that sounds awful.
So it was
That's some fart sniffy bullshit right there.
Yeah, I'm really into tantric cinema. You know what I'm saying? It's you don't? Okay, it's no big deal.
If anybody would be, it'd be you, Bob.
Oh, fuck off.
No, he's not a Suspiria boy, so.
I'm not. Sorry. Last thing I wanted to mention is I watched Lords of Chaos, which is this movie that I guess it's based on this real life story of this band called Mayhem that sort of invented Norwegian black metal in the 80s. And some of the members start to go kind of crazy, and there's various church burnings and murders and whatnot. It stars Rory Culkin, and it's on VOD right now. I got like a limited theatrical release, and it's something that we plan to talk about on the show eventually. We just have to like work it into our schedule whenever we can. Hopefully it's sometime in the near future. But I don't want to talk about it too much because I really do want to do like a proper show on it, but it's definitely like my favorite release of the year so far.
I feel like
definitely recommend
better than Glass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's I just recently heard about that band or a band similar that was like a Norwegian or sort of Scandinavian black metal band. And I don't want to like necessarily spoil it in case I'm right, but like some of the shit that went on in the stories that I heard are pretty fucking insane. So is it a direct, like, is it a story, is it a movie about them or is it a movie based on them loosely?
It's like, so the first thing that you see on the screen is like based on, I forget exactly how it's worded. It's like based on a true story, made up shit and what really happened or something like that. So it's like, yeah, loosely based on a true story. And I watched a documentary about the band immediately after I watched this movie. It's called Until the Light Takes Us. It's on Amazon Prime. And they interview like the members of the band that are still alive and like members of like other Norwegian bands. And it seems like what they said, like what the real people said happened is absolutely like what is portrayed in the movie. So it seems like they did a pretty good job at representing what allegedly actually happened.
Wow. I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's cool.
I like
Way
cult
into
movies.
it.
It sounds kind of culty.
A little bit, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I recommend the hell out of it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's what I've been watching. Let's go ahead and get to the main event. Talk about Audition and start off with the back of the box. What's on the back of the box? So Audition from 1999. Director Takashi Miike or Miike Takashi. I've heard it
Or
said
Mikey.
every which way. So yeah, or Mikey. The plot is as follows. A widower takes an offer to screen girls at a special audition arranged for him by a friend to find him a new wife. The one he fancies is not who she appears to be after all.
Dun dun dun.
Pretty spot on for a synopsis.
Readers beware. Yeah, better than a lot of IMDb synopses.
For sure.
So, have you guys seen this before? What were your thoughts kind of going into it, and would you recommend people check it out? Justin, would you kick us off?
I was excited to see this film because it has a reputation for being like really fucked up. I had never seen it before. And I don't know. I really need to watch more Japanese horror because I'm not too familiar with it. I don't know. I need to watch more. I would like to watch more. This movie, I don't know. It's hard to recommend. It's very particular as most Japanese horror movies I've seen are. So it's I don't know. it's hard to wrap your head around. It's definitely got like a psychological thriller kind of thing. Like, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like as far as American movies go, like maybe a movie like Seven, where it's got some really fucked up things, but it's not like straight horror, I guess. Like, I don't know, it's got some just kind of like psychological fucked up shit in there as well. So if you're into that, then definitely recommend.
Cool. Becky, what about you?
I really liked it. I thought it was good. We watched the first half one night and then the second half another night, like almost immediately.
Which was weird.
Yeah, which is like immediately cut in the middle. But the first half was like almost like a romantic drama, and then the second half was like, what the fuck? Like it was completely a turn of events, and the second half was a little like torture porny to me, but it was interesting at the same time. So I'd recommend it. I mean, I don't know much about like Japanese horror or anything like that, but just loosely off like little psychological thriller, I would say it's pretty good. So yeah, it's all right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Randy, how you feeling?
I feel great. I've seen this movie before, but it's been some time, and I was pretty excited to like get another look at it now that I have a lot more horror under my belt. I think the last time I saw it must have been in like before 2006. I think so anyway. So like I've seen a lot of movies since then, certainly a lot of horror movies, and I was excited to check it out. I think I do recommend it, but it kind of sucks to say because it's almost like a spoiler in its own right. But if you don't have a strong stomach, this isn't the movie for you. That I feel like is required to say. But if that's not an issue for you, I definitely recommend it. I think it's sort of singular. I've never seen a movie that handles itself the way this movie does. And just to add my voice to the chorus, my experience with Japanese films is not that extensive. But from what I've seen, I've like the three that like come up and immediately to my head are three movies that I fucking love. So they're all very wildly unique, like Justin said. So I think this fits right into that category of sort of unique films from Japan, unique horror films that are pretty unforgiving. So yeah, I'd recommend it. You just gotta be able to hold it together when things get icky.
Maintain.
If you manage to get through our What You've Been Watching segment, you should be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I watched this once prior, probably like early high school or something like that. And I remember finding it like super disturbing at the time. And then on this rewatch, I was like, not as fucked up as I remember it being. But also that's probably because we just watched, like Martyrs and the Poughkeepsie tapes and Serbian film like in the past few months. So like coming off of like that hot streak and watching this, it's like, not so bad. But
yeah, I'm getting a little worried about us because I kind of felt the same. I kind of felt the same way. I was like, well, this has a reputation, but I'm fine. Yeah. It's like, uh-oh.
Also, though, like I've seen a few Japanese movies, not a ton, but like specifically Takashi Miike, he's got a bit of like a reputation of making super fucked up movies. And like Ichi the Killer is another one of his, which is like crazy fucking extreme. And like it really actually is. And like Dead or Alive is kind of nuts. This does seem to be like, he's made over 100 movies, so I haven't seen like hardly any of them really. But it seems like this is probably the chillest one that I have seen of his.
Damn.
I just like, because I was curious about his whole like career, I watched a YouTube video about him prior to this recording, and apparently like he's got a reputation now for like selling out or going soft because he does a lot. He just paints with a wide brush, or he uses a wide net and just takes on whatever jobs that he can find, pretty much, which includes like family films and all sorts of things. So his like breadth of work is like kind of spans a lot of genres as I understand it, which is kind of interesting because what we get over here, like this movie, I think is definitely his most visible movie in the States, like most known, at least in circles that we travel in. So I mean, and Ichi the Killer is probably right up there. And then Dead or Alive for sure. So, like, yeah, the movies that we know over here and the ones that we like from him are these sort of semi-extreme movies. Not necessarily semi, but these extreme violence movies. But he's got, like, a lot of other things under his belt, apparently, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Working man. Yeah, I recommend it, though. I do. It's I guess it's not as fucked up as you might expect it to be, maybe. I don't know, but I recommend it.
I don't know. I think for the casual viewer, it's going to be pretty goddamn fucked up.
Like, I don't think it was that bad, but it definitely, I won't spoil it, but there's a few things in this world that really disturbed me, and it hit like a few of those things at the end. I was like, so.
There's some trigger points, sure.
Yeah, it's mostly like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I think that was the big thing for me, and we'll talk about it in the review. But it was like it took a while to get there.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So yeah, it sounds like we pretty much all would recommend it to show. I'll drop that spoiler warning, and we'll get into the nitty gritty. All right, Audition. Let's do it. Mushy, mushy. So, I don't know, where should we start on this thing? I think it's, did you guys, I guess, like, while watching this movie, would you categorize this as being sort of like a feminist type film? Since it's sort of, like, so, like, our main character, Aoyami, I think is how you say his name anyway, he's like an older guy, he's looking for, you know, a new companion, his wife has passed, and his son's telling him, but it's time to get, like, remarried or whatever, and he does this kind of, like, weird, like kind of fucked up, deceiving thing, and like holding an audition for a quote movie. Obviously there is no movie. He's just trying to find like his next mate or whatever. And these women are like writing essays, and they're turning in headshots and like showing up and like dancing around as if they're trying to get cast in this role that doesn't exist. So he's like, maybe not like entirely predatorial, but he's deceiving in a fucked up way. And then
I guess that was the thing. It was hard. I don't know. It was hard too, because the start of the movie, like you're kind of taking a journey with this guy where the first scene that you see is like his wife dies when his son is pretty young, you know, like, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something like that, you know, and he stays like a single father, and he like works really hard to like provide for his son. He never remarries. They have like a maid or whatever. And like you see their relationship, and it's good. Like he's supportive of like his like son's girlfriend. Like he doesn't seem like, he's not like a cooter. He's not like preying on women. He's not this like womanizing guy. But then you're right. Then we get to the situation where he's like, well, you know, I'm an older guy now. He's, I don't know, probably like in his 50s or something. And he's like, oh, I need to remarry. And like how he goes about it seems very strange.
Yeah.
And even the way they talk about it. Yeah. Like he's like, I want somebody like classically trained, and like he's kind of looking for a younger woman. And I don't know. So some of the things they talk about, and then eventually holding an audition for women. Cause like some of the women, like they're like taking their shirts off, and they're like examining their bodies, and like I don't know. It's
they're
so
asking probing
like,
questions of them too.
Yeah, it gets really fucked up. Yeah, like do you try drugs? Like, are you in the sex industry? Like, I don't know, all kind of crazy things. And I'm just like,
I thought it was more driven by the friend that he was with, more than him and like the main character.
But he goes along.
Yeah, but he definitely like plays along with it.
That's the thing is, like, I don't know about feminists. I'm not really sure where I stand on that. I've heard people like bring that up, but I don't know what the argument is there. But I do think that there is certainly like an aspect of sort of like good guy. Like here's a good guy, but he's not that good, and he's not that good because he has like these internalized ideals about what a wife or what a woman should be. And for all we know, like you could argue that it's just his personal preference, but they're all pretty like culturally significant, you know, bench points for a proper wife, a wife with a skill, a wife who can cook or clean or play piano, doesn't have to have a career, those sort of things that like they're sort of like sexist tropes, right? So like whether or not he is like a good father, it has no bearing on whether or not he's still doing a predatory act in trying to find a woman in this way or holding women to this standard. And so just to follow the story a little bit, at that point, they find this woman, Ayami, who he sort of like starts falling for. She's half his age, probably. And he's very taken
I think they say she's like 24.
Yeah.
Because his son's like 17. And he's like, oh, not much older than you.
Like,
Yeah.
Well,
and his son's like stoked about it. He's like, cool. But yeah, so from there, like he starts like sort of dating her, and he lies to her and tells her, oh, you know, the movie didn't pan out. funding fell through, so sorry, there's no movie, but I'd like to see you some more. And she's perfectly happy with that, it seems like, and she's very meek and very submissive and hitting all of his like bench points again, like sort of like not so empowering feminine tropes. And it kind of like ends up biting him in the ass by the end of the movie. Like, so I guess there is an argument for that, although I'm not sure if I was reading it that way as I watched it.
It's hard to tell too, because like they show all these scenes and she's a really, like sweet girl, and she's like, I like my family, we're just not very close. It just, very meek conversations. And then they replay all those scenes and she's saying all these fucked up things. So it's really hard to tell like what's true and what's not. I guess you could say like maybe she was saying all the fucked up things and he was just like choosing to see her as this like perfect like, trophy wife type thing, or not. I don't know.
See, sorry, go ahead.
That's like where we'd have to like figure that out, I guess.
Yeah, that's sort of like that's where things in this movie sort of get bizarre because, okay, so like we mentioned kind of before, it starts out like the first maybe 2/3 even of this movie are pretty much a direct dramatic romantic or not comedy, excuse me, a romantic drama about a couple forming with a few hints of something not quite right, like a runaway bride sort of segment. They even have like crazy montages and stuff, so like you're really lulled in this sense of passivity, but then they like pull the rug out from under you and you find out like all these horrible things. But the way you find out is almost like through a dreamlike sort of state. There's sort of this dream logic thing going on where I'm not really sure what to make of it. At the point, okay, so at a certain point, she makes him promise to love only her and only her alone, and he does. And then
they like go away, and that's like his proposal. Like they're going away like for the weekend, and they go to like this hotel on the beach.
Right.
And yeah.
And so go ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say that's what you're right. There's like a split there where like in one scenario, she like books it. And he has to like hunt her down. And in another scenario, he wakes up in that same situation and she never left. And he's been dreaming these fucked up things. But then when he goes back to sleep, he's like back in the nightmare. So it's like, well, wait a second.
It's left to interpretation, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of, the way I was interpreting that is like there are 2 points in the movie where he's drugged. So, and like both of those points are when he kind of revisits certain scenes that we had already seen before. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking like as he's being drugged, he's like having these flashbacks in his brain, and they're sort of like I guess lifting the veil in a way to where we get to know the Asami character a little bit better and like showing more of her past and why she is the way she is. It's kind of like how I interpreted those scenes anyways. They're obviously up for debate, but when he's like tripping balls on drugs, we're sort of like getting to see further into her character because she doesn't offer it up normally,
Right. She like what there's literally scenes where it's almost like they cut, it seems like they cut segments out that you could either say he just ignored in his pursuit of this young woman, these red flag moments. Or you could say that like this last bit, it's sort of like I said, it's dreamlike. There's not a lot of sense. It's like they combined her her flashbacks, her memories with his drug trip, with his dream. So he gets information that he really shouldn't have. Like if you take it as purely a dream state, he's getting new information, so he shouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. So you can either take that as him, imagining these things, or you can take it as the movie is sort of like making this amalgam of the two, which I think is really interesting. I've never seen it done that way, and I prefer to think of it that way as opposed to like one or the other. With
the drug state too, she could be like monologuing.
I thought that too.
Like I fooled you, and like she's talking about that's how his brain is processing it, because we've already seen that like they went to dinner and she told him these lies, but then like now she's like coming clean. Maybe that's interesting.
I thought that too. I wondered if maybe she was speaking to him in his drugged up state, and then causing those things to infiltrate his nightmares, where he's like, and they're nightmares because people are like. One person will change into another, and then you'll also see revelations about things you saw earlier in the movie. Like there's a sack that's moving around, and you get to see somebody is like in that sack that she's keeping.
Forgot about that.
Sack
So
boy.
like, yeah, there's a burlap sack in which a half man with no legs and half a hand, and no tongue sleeps
And
and
eats vomit.
stays
Her
and
vomit.
eats her vomit.
Disgusting.
Yeah, that happens. That happens in this quote unquote dream state. But I think that based on the fact that we saw that burlap sack moving around earlier in the movie, and the fact that, like, I like to think anyway that is reality. That somehow just being told to us through his dream, or told to him even through his own dream.
Yeah.
And he ended up with his legs chopped off at the end, and that's kind of what made me think like that was real too.
Yeah.
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 I'm the sack man.
He reminded me of that walrus. What's the walrus movie? That the
Tusk.
guy
Oh,
like Tusk.
God.
Remind me of Tusk.
One of the best movies ever made.
Mr. Tusk.
Nope.
I think of that movie too often. So
Wow.
Good for
I'm
you,
sorry.
Becky.
That's news to me, and it's kind of upsetting.
it is upsetting for me too. I'm just like, oh, how fucked up is that?
Um,
Not a
I'm
good
gonna turn Randy into a walrus.
Yeah.
If Randy ever gets like brutally murdered, we're gonna all suspect it's Becky, right?
well, she's gonna murder all of you. now,
Well, yeah.
So
She can't get me.
Oh,
I would
could,
don't
maybe.
underestimate Bex. I'm just gonna say that now. She has an
Why do you
army
think
of
I
walrus
moved?
people.
But at the end, when he like it kind of wraps it up, and that's when I really like all the dreams and stuff. Like kind of ties up loose ends. Like she had when she went to her audition, she said something about having a producer or a radio guy. Remember?
Yeah, a radio agent.
Agent, yeah, and I guess the agent. I think that's the one that was in the sack.
It's not really explicitly stated, but
Yeah.
I kind of
Could
feel
be.
that.
Yeah, I think so too, because the only other person it mentions, like we know that she murdered, is the guy who owned the bar.
Yeah.
And they said that they found his body, and amongst his chopped up remains were the extra body parts. And we find out that those extra body parts came from that guy, and the only other guy that's mentioned is the music executive.
Well, there's a music
Yeah.
executive. There's
The
her
ballet
uncle,
instructor.
abusive uncle, and a ballet instructor. And I don't know if
Uh,
like the ballet instructor could be her uncle. He could be.
I think he
the
is.
radio.
Could
Yeah,
be.
he is.
Yeah.
Like it's
I
kind of
think
tough.
he is.
They don't they don't explicitly tell you. You're just racking up like theoretical bodies, and you're not like much like our lead character. What's his name? Oyama.
Aoyama.
I'm gonna say
Aoyama.
Oyama. I hope I'm
Yeah.
not wrong. But like, and much like him, we're sort of like figuring things out as we go until we get to this point where his dream brain dumps on him, and he sort of figures it out like absolutely the worst moment. So, or he finds out, I guess, at the worst moment. So I think it's really interesting. This movie is like famous for its sort of like rug pull. I wouldn't even really call it a twist because it really is the
Yeah.
natural conclusion of the movie. You see something coming, you're just not sure
Mhm.
what. But
Yeah.
this like Becky said, we watched the first half of this movie a day before the second half, and like watching it through, me knowing what was going to happen roughly, I didn't remember specifics. I was like, man, this is so weird to see. Like there's almost nothing scary about this. The only things you have are minor hints of dread, with a few like scenes of her like waiting in front of the phone and things like that, or a few signs of obsession. But those are like moments, except for the burlap sack, maybe, that wouldn't be out of place in like a Hallmark movie, you know. And it's sappy almost. It's schmaltzy and it's cheesy, and then you hit this moment where I guess it's really where he gets drugged. Like you kind of sense, you see the hammer coming down, kind of. But when it finally lands, it lands fucking hard. This movie is torture porn at that point. But to me, it's well earned. It's one of the rare examples of like a torture scene in a movie that is so well earned because it sets you up to see this as a very real, if a little bit romanticized world. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing in this movie to suggest anything supernatural or anything like that. But man, so it just kind of heightens the insanity of that last bit. And let me admit, the sound design in this fucking movie is so good in those torture scenes.
She's a good actress too in the torture scenes. I think she really played off like the insane, like obsessive type really well at the very
Yeah.
end. So I was like kind of
Amazing.
sneaked out by her. So
So
Yeah.
I guess like the two fucked up scenes is the one we finally get to see like what's in the sack. She lets out the guy, and
To
it's
the sack.
Yeah, it's I guess the music producer, and he has his leg or his I don't know, not his full legs chopped off, but I don't know, below
His
the
feet.
calf or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
his
calf,
feet
yeah.
chopped off. And then she feeds him nasty vomit water, which is pretty heinous.
Like-
And then also too, she gets old dad and she drugs him again and essentially just lays him out in the living room and tortures him. She specifically says you are paralyzed, so you can't move, but all your nerves are fully awake, aware. So you're gonna feel all of this pain, and she just starts sticking him with needles. And I think the biggest one for me was she's sticking them in his eyes,
Yes.
which is fucking gnarly, and just leaving him there. I guess part of it was keeping his eyes open too, because it was kind of under his eyelids or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, but
The thing that got me is she sticks a whole bunch of them in his chest, and she's sort of straddling him, and after she's done sticking him in there, she just scoots
up
across them all. And
Yeah.
snaps
That's a
them.
deadly scooch, man.
God,
That's a bad
no.
scooch.
No.
There's not many things that gross me out, to think about, but I don't like vomit, so that was definitely checked there. The guy's eating it like it's dessert. He was super stoked, and then I don't like.
He said
Someone
yummy.
in middle school told me, I'll never forget the bitch. She said something about. She's like, "Wouldn't it be gross if someone gave you a paper cut in your eyeball?" And I was like,
You bitch.
it still grosses me out, and that reminded me of that, the needles in the eyeball.
Lucky for her, she'll never have to worry about it since she's 6 feet under Becky's old house. So.
It's so gross. And then also needles. I hate needles. So the three of those things really
Man,
it was a little much.
That they go hard in this
Yeah.
fucking movie, and there's there really isn't runtime wise. It's probably 20% of the movie that you
Maybe.
really get these hard to watch
Yeah.
violent sections. Even the moment, okay, so they're during the torture, Oyama's son comes home unexpectedly, and she starts chasing him around, not with a knife or anything, but with a squirt bottle of presumably mace, which
Mace,
isn't the most visually that's not the most horror movie weapon you can think of.
That's freaky.
Yeah.
And that almost, yeah, it almost I don't know.
The way she
It
did
almost
it.
it's almost laughable after what you've just witnessed.
Well,
you know?
especially because he kicks that bitch down the stairs. That
Yeah.
bitch slacked me up. He that bitch goes flying.
She
He's
does. She really.
spraying him in the face with this mace, but it looks like an Axe spray bottle. She's spraying it I'm gonna make you smell like a douche. And then he just
body break commercial.
and then he
Oh,
just
oh.
kicks that bitch in the chest down the stairs.
She breaks her neck. She
Yeah,
breaks it
she does.
hard.
Yeah,
But
she
also
breaks
kills
her
the dog,
neck.
so fuck her.
What?
She kills the dog, so
kill the
fuck her.
dog.
She did kill the dog.
So that was the first act of violence that we actually become aware of. Oh, well, no, that's not true actually.
Well, the guy
But-
in the sack. But yeah, it was pretty
The
the
guy in the
first thing
sack
in the
and
house.
and the piano instructor or dance
true.
instructor rather.
Yeah.
That guy was creepy as shit. I
Yeah.
thought that guy did a great
He
job.
got wooden feet. The wooden
He-
feet killed me.
Yeah.
He's got
Oh,
little
that
club
shit's
So weird.
feet, and then what he does to her is really fucked up. He sexually
Yeah.
abuses this minor, and they actually have a little girl playing that scene at least the first time around. The second time in the dream state, it becomes older Ayami. And when it's interesting, it becomes such an interesting thing to think about her motivations and stuff, even though it's sort of unclear what's real and what's not to us at that point, or at least it was to me. But it's interesting to think okay, so she's a young girl, about to go through puberty. She's being raised by an abusive or either verbally or physically aunt and uncle for a while. She's being tortured by a sadistic fucking dance teacher and all this. And her idea of love is something that's singular. You can only be loved by one person. And she says later on in the movie that words can be so tricky or something along those lines, but pain is absolute. You know what you're getting with pain. So she conflates the idea of love and pain. She conflates the idea of love and torture. I think that her torturing this guy is an act of love as much as it is an act of retribution for him loving his son as well as her, which is kind of his big like that's her stated reason for doing this to him. It's like, you said you'd love only me, but you have a picture of your dead wife and you have a son that you didn't throw out, I guess.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
She was saying, like, even if I give all of myself to you, you'll never give all of yourself to me.
Right.
Because you have your son, you love your son. And that's the whole reason she cuts off people's feet, is so that they can't leave her. It's like she's completely, like, 100% possessive of them in this really fucked up way. And when she starts cutting his feet off, she uses like a piano wire or something and just kind of wraps it around the ankle and just starts like sawing it. And as she's doing it, she looks so stoked.
She's
So
And then she
happy.
just like tosses it to the side. I love when it like hits the window and it like little splatter of blood or whatever. But yeah, she played like crazy really well, which is like, I don't know. The thing that the noise that she makes when she goes like the deeper or whatever, and like is like hits under my skin.
She's very happy to torture him.
I don't think it's out of love though, like you said. I think it's just.
I think it's like both. She's fucked up. I don't think that it's like serial killers. Like, I've watched Mindhunter. I know a thing or two about serial killers. And let's say, like, serial killers often like sort of like, if they're often abused when they're young by people that are supposed to love them or that maybe do love them in a fucked up way. So it's this weird conflation of the two to me. I think she's definitely doing it in retribution. She's definitely enjoying the fuck out of it. But I think part of that is because she feels it's like the most intimate thing that you can do with a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say though too, because she specifically says like I know your deal, like I know the audition was fake, you're having women come in here. So at one point it is like she's like punishing these people because she does it to like all men, and so she goes after like a music producer or whatever, a music executive. It's all like men in power who seem to like exploit women, for their benefits. And even like the man at the bar, like she's like, yeah, I work there. Like he gets all up in my personal business and stuff like that. So it makes it seem like everyone that she punishes is like a deliberate way to get at men who exploit women. But then at the same time, she also has the whole dialogue of like, only love me. And like, she goes through, even when she's dying and she's broken her neck, she goes through like the whole thing of like her story and, like the kind of sympathy behind it and like where her mind is at. So it's hard to tell. Like,
you might be right. And like that perspective, I guess, could be like sort of that feminist perspective as well, where it's getting retribution on people who are exploitative of young girls or just of women in general. Yeah. Specifically of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching like some of the bonus features on the Blu-ray and stuff, and it's like, it seems as though like maybe people like from the West, like America and what, like watching these Japanese movies, kind of read that into it, read it as being like a feminist type film where this woman who's, I guess in a sense being preyed on by this guy who is being like deceiving, just sort of totally fucking owns him, even though she does like, I guess, die in the end, she like gets her revenge or whatever. And I guess it's what they were kind of saying. Like there's this like film historian, this like Japanese film historian that has like this 30-minute spiel on there. And he was talking about how like, I guess feminism, like the whole feminist movement is something that doesn't necessarily exist in Japan at all. So it's like, if it wasn't intended, then it's just sort of like, it's just like embedded in the movie accidentally, perhaps, and like we're kind of picking up on it.
That could very well be. I don't assume that's authorial intent there. I definitely think that there's, mostly because I don't understand Japanese culture well enough to really make that call. I don't think. But in terms of
even
what
like
I get out of it.
even in 1999, like they even have a discussion like, do you want to have like an arranged marriage? Like before he's talking to me, he's like, oh, do you want to look for a wife or like do you want to arrange it? Yeah, and he's like, I'm not that kind of guy to arrange it. I guess like with their parents or whatever. So it's like, well. Yeah, we're not really too culturally aware of what's like the norm here.
It could just be,
it could,
how they are, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So.
that's the thing is we as fucking gringo ass white boys don't really have the authority to make that call, except for ourselves. And yeah, I could see that argument being. I could see it being an unintentional thesis statement, but I could also see it being intentional as well. I just don't. I want to assume that.
Yeah.
And as far as like just taken purely as a hunter becomes the hunted story, or be careful with conning people, because if they get their chance at retribution or lying to people, it could be as simple as that. A morality tale about a decent person who does one lousy thing that's really terrible, and then gets his comeuppance for it, and the absolute most overblown cruelty, cruel punishment possible. So I don't know. There's a million ways to read it, and it's not really it doesn't actually help to dissect the plot, because the plot sort of fluctuates at that one point in such a way, and we're when we're in that drug zone, that drugged up area, things get so discombobulated, and you're given so many pieces of information that you're not sure whether to trust or not. You don't know who's narrating it or who's not. So it kind of becomes impossible to really make a stern call on it. All you really know is that this is a really fucked up experience that this guy is now going through, that he and certainly his son don't deserve. He doesn't deserve to have his feet chopped off necessarily for being a piece of being as predatory in that particular way. At least I don't think so. But he definitely deserves something, and he pointing that out. I don't know. I think that's. I think it's formless almost, which is kind of impressive. I think
the lesson here is bros before hoes. I mean, at the core,
his bro is what makes him, his buddy.
His buddy
told him not to.
Told him not to pursue.
He's like, dude, this chick.
Something's off with this chick. Weird.
He's also he did the legwork too. Good props on that, dude. He was like, dude, I called all of her sources, none of them check out. I can't find him. He's like, do not call this bitch. And not only that, his son was like, Dad, let me check this chick out. I've got really good instincts before you propose to marry her. And he doesn't do that either. So bros before hoes. Bottom line, Audition.
That's definitely not what this movie's about, but sure.
Even if your bro is engineering the situation that leads to your death.
Yeah, still.
He tried to give him the heads up, you know?
This
he could have picked up a
that water was already spilled. It's patching a tire after the air's leaked out.
He could have picked the girl in the sex industry, you know? I mean, he had 40 choices or something.
But sometimes you make the wrong choice.
He's a man with options.
Man.
This is definitely... above all, a love story, a fucked up love story.
Spooky
and in the spooky love, which was the theme for February's Pulpic. But in the end, Aoyama being totally fucked up, having 1 1/2 feet chopped off, needles in his eyes and shit. He looks scared at some points, but he doesn't ever seem angry or he whatever he was feeling for Asami, he's still in the end, even in the last scene, still looks like he is in love with her, despite all this horrific shit that's happened to him.
Which you're right.
Which is crazy.
I didn't think about that, but that actually does play into this idea of trauma and love and torture and pain being it was ingrained in her, it seems or a combo for her. And maybe the act of doing that to him, caused the same thing to him. In fact, there's a voiceover where they reiterate some things that were said back and forth over dinner between the two as they're lying there dying, or as she's lying there dying, and he's lying there with needles in his fucking eyes, where she's what was it she said? It was something along the lines of or he was trying to reassure her. It's he told her all those terrible things that happened, or she told him all those terrible things that happened to her as a kid, and he's it's terrible that what happened to you, but give it time, it'll heal. You'll one day you'll be happy again. You won't know why, but it'll come through for you, and and that's only true to him because he's never had the sort of torture that she had, and so she gives him that torture, and he'll never grow back his foot, so he's damaged in ways that he cannot come back from, not fully. So it's kind of interesting. I think maybe you're onto something where that she sort of transferred that weird, fetishization, like bastardization of love onto him somehow.
Yeah, I don't know much about Japanese culture, but maybe that's sort of an ongoing theme, like just these people being tortured to achieve like what they want or what they think they want, or I don't know, man. I just thought that was probably the most compelling scene, was like that very last shot where like he is fucked up in like crazy ways, but he still is like looking at her and she's like, laying on the floor, and he just seems like he still is crazy about her, and it's just like, holy shit, that whole 2 hours, that was like the craziest frame to me. I don't know.
He definitely doesn't get mad. I mean, I think it's up to us to decide whether or not he was still in love. To me, I was like, he was like looking at her, and you could argue that look was like, I can't believe you fucking did this to me. I can't believe that I let this happen to me, and not necessarily angry, but just sort of like literally in physical and mental shock.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, he's watching her speak as she has already died. Like, she's clearly dead, and she's like, he's visualizing her speaking words that she said to him days prior. So obviously, he's not in a great place mentally.
They were. I forget exactly what she was saying, but it was something along the lines of like, she was glad she met him, and they're very sweet things. They weren't like crazy things. It just, I don't know. And he was definitely hallucinating that or whatever, because he was drugged up, whatever she like injected into his tongue. I don't know, maybe he was like hallucinating.
Oh, maybe it was like another way of them saying like, well, he's still looking at her the way that he wants to look at her even now, as a he's seeing what he wants to see. He's not seeing the red flags even after he had fucking needles in his eyes.
That's a good point. I guess that would be a good justification for why they showed several of those scenes twice, to where they go and eat dinner, and like the first time she's like, oh no, my family's cool, I just don't see them that much. But then the second time she's like, no, my parents got divorced and I live with my uncle and he abused me. So I mean, if in the end he's had his foot cut off and like needles stuck in his eyes, but he's still imagining her saying like, I'm so glad you called me, I'm like so excited to see you again, I've been waiting for your call, and like, oh,
he's just remembering all the things that enchanted
him. Then that would make sense. Then that would like also give that some like meaning.
I want to make sure that I didn't imagine this. Was there a moment there's this that same scene that like they revisit of them in a diner or whatever? In that initially, I felt like there was a couple spots where they had these weird cuts, like smash cut. There were, okay. Yeah. So maybe that was him like self-editing, and we just don't know that until the end. Like that.
Yeah, we just thought it was like fucked up on the movie or something.
I just thought it was like a poor editing choice, but it could be like you could argue that was an intentional thing, like a gap that was to be filled later.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Okay, yeah. Do you guys have anything else to add before we rate this thing?
No. Pretty good summary.
So. Yeah, I feel like we kind of touched on everything. Cool. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and rate this thing out of 5. Justin, I don't know if you're there or not, so I'll go to...
Oh, yeah.
There.
He's just emerged from
lurking in the shadows.
I'll rate it from a distance.
I don't know if you're there.
Out of 5, how do you feel about Audition?
I will say that last kind of point clarified some, or like I like that idea, or I like it more after our discussion, because I was originally going to say, I mean, a lot of this movie is just like, it takes a while to get there, to get to any kind of like even. And I was going to say one of my favorite scenes was toward the beginning, or I don't know, within the first 30 minutes, I guess, where she's waiting on the phone call. And you see the sack, and like it rings, and she's like got her hair down, like she does the look up with the smile or whatever. Like, I love that because it was so sinister, and just the way it was shot, it was so simplistic. Like, all you need is like a burlap sack, and you're like, what's in the fucking bag? Like the psychological like horror behind that. I love that, but we didn't get like a whole lot of that. And then in the end, they just like crank it to 11. Like, she just shows up and just starts cutting bitches up. I mean, I keep forgetting about the vomit scene though. That was like really impactful to him.
That's rough.
Really nasty. Yeah. So But I like that idea of the guy just being so infatuated that he ignores he self-edits everything out. Like, that is really intriguing to me looking back, because I was like, this is so confusing. Like, what? He wakes up several times out of a dream, and at times it seems like she's kind of like a ghost. Like, when she like goes into his like apartment, it's not like she's like walking around. It's got this like floaty effect or whatever. Like, she's soaring through the apartment looking at everything. So at one time I was like, well, what the fuck is going on? But that, I like that idea, especially like for this month, our like love February pick. Like, that's pretty baller. And we get the half star for the Yabos. It's getting it. It's going in there.
Whose
So I
Yabos do
think
we see?
when they do an audition, when they do the
Oh,
audition,
right,
girls,
okay.
just strips nude. She knows what she's there for, I guess.
she's trying to hook her husband. No,
Didn't work.
so I
She got the half
think
star though.
I'm gonna end this movie with a 4 out of 5.
Right.
I like thinking about it, but it takes a while to get there. I don't know. I can't pinpoint all the problems. It's just a wild movie, but I overall enjoyed it, and I like thinking about it now.
Yeah.
Cool. Becky, how about you? Out of 5, how you feeling about Audition?
I agree with Justin on a lot of the points. I think it was a good thinker. You know, it's something you could think about, you know, on a drive somewhere, like, you know, kind of stuck with you for a bit. I think the idea of like the guy, you know, choosing to see what he wanted to see in her could be a thing for like feminism. Like, you know, in those cultures, maybe they only choose to see like the talent and like the cooking and whatever that the lady can do, and not like all of their traits. And that can be kind of maybe said here. I don't know. But I definitely think he like chose to see what he wanted to see in her. But it's still unclear like what was real and what wasn't. But overall, I think that's probably where I would think it's going, but I'm still not sure yet either. I'd probably get it a 4 as well. I was saying like 3.5 or a 4, but I think a 4. I really liked it. But again, like it took so long to build up, and once it started the build up and once it was time, it was just like thrown up everywhere. It's just so much information at once. Like, I think we paused it a couple of times. It's like, wait, who's that? Like, what happened? Because it's just a lot at one time. So, and we were like paying pretty close attention the whole time. So it wasn't like we were on our phones or anything. But there's a little like kind of loose ends that I felt like could have been cleared up in the movie that weren't.
Cool.
Plot points. Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Cool. Randy Gandy G. Landy, how you feeling? Out of 5.
Out of 5, I too am hovering in the 3.5 to 4 area, and I think like Justin, our conversation sort of spurred me in the direction of 4, because this is proven just by virtue of having this podcast that it's the kind of movie that can support detailed thematic conversation, which I really enjoy. So for that reason, I think it bumps it up a little bit. I already enjoyed this movie, though. I would say that the biggest detractor for me is the length of the first half, or the length of the non-horror segments. I understand that it had to be longer than you would think, because in order to do what they're trying to do here, which is sort of lull you into this passive state where you think you're watching, you know, a Japanese Hallmark movie or whatever, just to find out you're watching an Eli Roth movie. So I understand that, but at the same time, I think that I could have done without a few of those scenes. I think it could have been trimmed down. This is a 2-hour movie, you know, and I don't know that it necessarily had to be 2 hours to hit those benchmarks. So my mic just fell. I think that really is my biggest complaint. I think other than that, there are maybe a few moments where it's all just sort of towards the front end where I sort of like fixated. I watch it, like I said, like I would watch a Hallmark movie, which is to say, I watch it and I sort of like giggle at some of the silliness of it, some of the schmaltziness of it. I make little gags about it, and you know, there's even knowing what's coming, I'm trying to like give it the weight that it's going for, and it earns it. But there are some scenes where I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, it's a little goofy. So I could have done without a little bit of that, and I still think it would have worked just as effectively. But really, aside from that, the sound design in this fucking thing, especially during the sound, the Foley artistry of the needle puncturing that eyeball is effective to me. and the piano wire crunching through bone, like that shit worked on me. It made me cringe. That combined with the weight that they gave the first half of the movie and the relationship aspect, it just works really well. The acting is really good. The plot is a little bit formless, but to its benefit, as it turns out. That's kind of where that 3.5 to 4 went. So I really love this movie. I think it's a great movie. And like I said, I would recommend it to pretty much any horror fan that can hold their stomach. So, and maybe even a few strong-stomached normal people.
Normies. Cool. All right. So yeah, I think I'm gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going into the 4. I don't know if I said that explicitly.
You did.
Okay.
I wrote it down. It's in my book. I'm gonna come in with a 3.5 on this one. So like after watching this movie, I felt sort of lukewarm on it actually. The first time I watched it, I remembered it left a much bigger impact on me. As opposed to the second time around. And I'm not 100% sure why that is exactly. Like I said, probably because we just seen so many more extreme type movies. Where at the time in early 2000s when I watched this for the first time, it probably was the most extreme thing I'd seen at that time. And it's also, this is a 2-hour movie, and like the first 90 minutes really is just straight up a love story, and the first half is almost like a romantic comedy, especially when they're doing like the audition montage, and you've got like some pretty goofy stuff going on in there. And it definitely was well done. It just takes a very long time to get to kind of the point of the movie, which is something that I find interesting, specifically like referencing Japanese films and like Korean films. Not that I've seen a whole bunch, but it seems like every one that I have seen is like between the 2-hour and 2.5-hour mark, or even longer.
They're usually long.
And I kind of love that in a way, because it's like these filmmakers are like, they don't give a fuck about your time. Like they have a story to tell, and they're gonna take as much time to tell it as they want. And I kind of like admire that in a way, even if it does feel too long to me. Like this movie did feel too long to me. I feel like you could have trimmed some of the fat. But it's just, it's kind of neat to me that maybe that's a cultural thing where they're like, the artist gets to take their time and make the story that they want to make or whatever. Also, it's like, it's kind of hard to judge this movie because like I am fairly ignorant in regards to like Japanese culture. So I think I know what Takashi Miike was like going for, but maybe I have no idea. Maybe he nailed it. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. So it's sort of, we're definitely reading a lot into it, and hopefully we're somewhere on the right page, I guess. But I think it's very interesting, the ideas we talked about, this man like self-editing, like ignoring like very obvious flags, like it's so very clear, like the first time that they speak, that this woman is not okay. Like she's got some issues, like she's very like underplayed and quiet, but there's like some sort of crazy evil bubbling and seething, and you just kind of feel it from the get-go, and he's just completely oblivious to it, because he chooses to be oblivious to it, even though his friend is like, she's fucking crazy, don't do it. I don't know, that's very interesting to me, and like also the idea that he's still, even after like getting his fucking feet cut off, he's still like choosing to ignore that shit, or at least seemingly. I don't know, there's some interesting stuff here. But I'm gonna come in with a 3.5 overall. That's gonna put our aggregate at a 3.9. So let's go ahead and get into our Rotten Tomatoes segment here and see what the critics and users have to say about Audition. Take it away, Juice.
All right, let's hop into it. This is a cool poster on the front. It's this chick with the her needle and her glove, whatnot. She is beautiful. Crazy beautiful, like literally, like she did crazy really well. Let's see. Cool. Yeah, 73 critics rated this movie. So let's go around the table from not bad from 1999. 73 critics counted. Let's start with the ladies. We're gentlemen over here, you know. Bex, why don't you kick us off? What would you rate this, or what do you think the critics rated this movie?
Like a 77%.
77. All right. Randy.
So, can we pause real quick because I lost you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on one second. Let me see exactly where I lost you.
You want to just like redo? You want to just cut and redo the Rotten Tomatoes segment? That way you can just do the plug and we'll start over. Probably be easiest for cutting.
Can you hear me now? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Hang on.
Hello, YouTube. You're not going to hear this on your podcast.
I forgot YouTube, yeah.
But if anybody's wondering, fuck Trump.
Oh, God. If you've made it through this far.
Right. So
I'm here to troll people, apparently.
Let's start where you say let's go around the table, and then that'll be fine.
Okay.
Oh.
Hang on. Let me get this going.
Wait, did I say the how many critics? Can we just start from the bump so I can do the whole thing again? Like, oh, it's 73, just because I can't remember in what order I said things.
hang on.
Justin is a diva, YouTube. Okay. Just huge diva.
Just we have a bump and everything.
Diva
so
juice over here.
God.
Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted.
I am not editing this out of YouTube.
Good.
Okay, so yeah, you said 73 critics rated this movie, and then just say, let's go around the table and we'll take a guess, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
I don't want to cut out what you said before that because it's funny.
Okay. Wait. Oh, about the poster?
Yeah.
Crazy beautiful.
It's crazy. like literally crazy. This is some behind the scenes bonus YouTube bullshit right here.
This is
Boy.
We're making the sausage.
We're back here impersonating Sylvester Stallone and shit. Crazy beautiful.
All right, you ready?
Hey, hang on. I'll give you the go when we're Gucci. Hang on. 2 seconds.
All right, let's go around the table and guys, try to guess what you think the 73 critics rated this movie. Let's kick it off with Bex. Bex, what do you think? the score is?
I'll say a 77%.
77. All right. Surprise, surprise. Randy, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with the straight chillin' special 69, please.
Whoa. All right. Taking it. And Robert, we got 77. We got straight chillin' special. What are you taking?
I'm gonna go higher. I feel like people are vibing it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with an 85.
85. Oh, we have ourselves. Wait. Let me do quick math. Yeah, we have ourselves a tie.
Oh shit!
What?
It falls right in between Bob and Bex. It is an 81%.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yes, certified fresh, officially certified. Reviews counted 73, fresh 59, rotten 14, and is surprising to it, like average rating. Average rating 7.3 out of 10, but overall 81% on the Rotten Tomatoes score. Certified fresh. Critic consensus is an audacious, unsettling Japanese horror film from director Takashi Miike. What was it, Rob? Takashi?
Yeah, I say Miike or Miike. I've heard
Okay.
it both ways. Yeah.
Audition entertains as both a grisly shocker and a psychological drama. Yes, that is a good consensus.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Sure.
That's a good, yeah. That's one of the few good ones.
Yeah,
I
it can
feel
be
like
pretty hit or
sometimes these
miss
things
with
get
this.
wild. Yeah. All right. So officially certified. So that's good. I wonder what the cutoff. Maybe it's got to be like a minimum of 50 to be certified. I don't know. Because 73 isn't super big, but it's good for 1999. All right. Oozers. Let's see. 56,585. So a decent sample size. Nothing too crazy, but solid for a Japanese horror film from 1999. So let's go around. Let's work it backwards. Bob, what do you think for the Oozer rating on this one?
Oozers. Let's see, critics were 71. I feel like users might be a little bit lower than that.
No, critics were an 81.
81. Okay, 81. So I'll go Schnikes. I'll go 75.
75. Okay. Randy.
69, please.
Randy's stuck on the straight chillin' special.
I don't feel
I
like
love
about this.
And Bex.
52.
52. Oh, Bex does not believe in the peeps
Bex.
here.
I just think people like Mike Ford and not finish it, honestly.
Well, Rob is going to take it away. It is almost the same. This is an 80% as opposed to the critics' 81%. Average rating from the Oozers, 3.8 out of 5, which is dangerously close to the straight chilling crew at 3.9. Right, Rob?
Yeah, I rounded up. Ours was like 3.875. I rounded
Oh, my
up to
Lord.
9,
Oh,
so-
Lord.
Oh,
Look at
Yeah.
that.
oh
Yeah.
Lord.
What did they say? Huh? What are
Men
we?
of the people.
People. So
Well,
we are right. We are right in line there. 80%, 3.8 out of 5, just like your straight chilling crew.
So really, you should just go to Rotten Tomatoes and not listen to our show.
Skip us.
Or just
Exactly.
never go to Rotten Tomatoes and listen to the show, and we'll tell you
That
what the
seems
Rotten
like a
Tomatoes are.
mistake.
Got a couple hours? Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
I'd love to see this movie, but I gotta listen to a whole podcast so I can see the Rotten Tomatoes.
You could skip.
Nope. No,
No.
you can't.
Just wait
I'm a
for the plug.
purist.
Just wait for the plug.
Let's go ahead and get into some trivia. Randy, what you got?
There's not a ton that I found, so I'm just going to go over a few things. First, unsurprisingly, this movie was described by Quentin Tarantino as a true masterpiece, if ever there was one, in a video discussing his favorite films released between 92 and 2009.
This is totally some kinky shit Tarantino would get off on.
He
That dude's
loves
got some
feet.
weird.
Even if they're being chopped off.
That dude's got
Um,
some things.
Yeah, he's got some things. He keeps them in the closet.
Yeah.
um,
Well, not even that.
Not all the
but
time.
Not.
Sometimes he puts them on screen. Anyway, this is interesting. When the film was screened at the Rotterdam Film Festival in 2000, it had a record number of walkouts. At the Swiss premiere, someone passed out and needed emergency room attention.
Lord.
I'll
So-
tell you, looking at this list, because I'm reading it off of it, there's some fucked up trivia about this movie, and that is kind of a fucked up thing. Someone passed out from watching this.
Yeah. I mean, this
fuck?
ain't William Castle talking. This is Swiss people, I guess.
The Swiss.
Swiss are telling us this. You have to believe it.
So dense.
Let's see. Takashi Miike wanted to end this film at the onset of the torture scene that the film is now famous for. However, one of the producers told him to, quote, be a man and see it through to the end.
Damn.
Like overestimating the feminism involved in this movie. Let's see here.
Be a man.
Be a man, motherfucker. Come on. Torture
I
this
want to
guy.
see somebody get tortured.
Come on, man. Stick needles in this dude's eye, please.
Cut that dude's foot off now.
The paralyzing drug Asami injects into Oyama is fictional. Takashi Miike said they made it up because the film would have been difficult to finish without contriving such a drug. Well, yeah.
There you go.
Thank God we invented the blah 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 device. That sort of thing. This is well, okay. I'm gonna skip this one and come back to it. In the original story that this movie is based on, both of Oyama's feet were dismembered during the torture scene. However, in the script, there was no dismemberment at all. In the final film, Takashi Miike decided only 1 foot should be removed, and even though it wasn't in the script, he considered this choice to be, quote, splitting the difference. Best use of that phrase ever.
True.
He's a conventional man.
I mean, it's not in the script, but it's in the book. Just do one. We'll just do one.
Break even.
You got the idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing. We're talking about this guy being like so fucked up, but I mean, it's based on a book. So I mean, as long as you have like source material. I mean, it's not like he like invented all this shit. You know what? We need to find this crazy chick and cut this dude's foot off. It's like, hey, it's just going off the source material.
I understand it. He came in sort of late into pre-production too, so this wasn't his film when it was, funded basically.
The guy who wrote the book, Ryu Murakami or whatever, he apparently is way into like the BDSM scene, and a lot of his books are geared around that.
Did he write 50 Shades of Grey?
Well, hot damn.
He directed a movie. It was called like Tokyo Seduction or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it
that sounds like straight.
Sounds like a movie for Bex.
Yeah, apparently it's pretty fucked up. So if you want to watch some BDSM shit, there you go.
Please don't, because you're gonna.
Well, I do.
Well, la-dee-da.
Right.
Well, I already have 10 copies. Okay. I got that steel case. Bob. What's it called?
You're gonna go to jail, motherfucker. Isn't porn outlawed in your country?
Yeah.
That's
not torture
Get
porn.
out of here. Get out of here.
All right.
This is terrible. So get
this,
ready.
Yeah, this is our big finale on trivia. So, the dog bowl of vomit fed to Asami's prisoner is in fact the actual vomit of actress Aihi. Takashi Miike claims it. Aihi, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name. Excuse me. Is a method actress and insisted on doing this. So that leads to a further question that I don't have the answer to, and I'm going to let us all dream about.
Does that guy eat the damn vomit?
Does he eat the vomit? Or do they give him something different to eat? She pukes it. Does he eat it?
I don't know why he would.
I have to say no.
Somebody's going method. You gotta go with them, man. I guess.
I mean, any person.
No, you don't.
It's not like his fault that she wanted to really vomit into a bowl.
It's shocking. If somebody's gonna go as far as to actually puke it out and like spill it on the floor and shit, who's to say that the other person's not gonna go the extra mile too? I don't know. And the question is, it's unlikely, but it's a maybe, and that maybe is gonna keep me up tonight.
The fact that they used vomit anyways, like why? She's a good actress. Why couldn't she just carry a bowl of like oatmeal?
It was literally vomited off camera. Off.
Yeah, no one saw her
camera.
Yeah, but you heard the sounds.
She could have puked into a fucking trash can and then brought out the bowl. Maybe that's what they did, actually. That might actually I'm going to pretend that's what happened.
Becky, I have a question specifically for you. I feel like you'll probably know the answer. Is there like a specific subgenre of like puke porn that you can find somewhere in the world on Pornhub or what have you?
Is.
If you know of Pornhub, you know how to find this yourself. Don't involve my girlfriend.
I'm not trying to see it. I'm wondering if Becky has already like figured all this out for me. You know what I'm saying?
I really don't like puke, so I do not.
Okay.
But there was a porn. What was it? Recently, I looked up and I was like, "There's no way this is a thing," and it was a thing. So I'm sure puke porn is a thing.
There's no way this is a thing.
I wonder what the name.
There's always a thing.
It's always.
It was a thing.
You like trees? There's people who fuck trees. You like.
If you can dream it, you can do it.
Doodle porn's a thing. Puke porn's got to be a thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let us know. Leave us a voicemail if you ever seen puke porn.
Yeah, let us know your experiences with puke porn on the voicemail, please.
Yeah, we gotta know. All right, is that it for your trivia?
Yeah, that's all. That's all I can take.
Let's talk about the cooter of the week. Ooh. Now I feel like this is gonna be a hot debate. It could go many ways, I feel.
It could. There's an argument for a lot of characters, and there's not that many characters.
Yeah, I mean, most of the adult men, really could, like, now, okay, when you, like, I say cooter of the week, that means you got to compare them. So, of the ones that we see, I think, like, it's hard because it's in that dream state. My obvious one would be, like, the teacher, uncle / teacher / whoever is burning and like a little girl in her dance uniform and making her dance for his like cuche and like maybe sexually abusing her. It's kind of loose, and that's the thing. We don't even know like who this guy is really. Like, is he the teacher? Is he the uncle? I thought he was like, is he So I mean, obviously, the guy who is torturing and potentially like sexually abusing like a child would obviously be a huge cooter. Like, I mean, that's.
I think that's
But I mean, if like we were gonna exclude him because we don't know much about him, then of the other characters, I mean, I would say almost like the friend, like the who sets up the audition. I mean, that is a pretty like, I mean, and to get so many women, he's like pick 40 women out of God knows how many hundreds of like applications where he's just making women come in like take their clothes off.
That's
and,
like
literally like dance.
Manipulative. Manipulation
Shit.
on point, but the rest of them, I don't know if he really counts. I don't like for sure manipulation, but like he's not very self-important. It's like sexual deviancy, like I don't know if that even really applies. Maybe a little bit.
I think it does. I think it registers on the scale a little bit.
I guess, when you're invading like somebody's like private, like I guess sexual history, like
that's true. They ask those weird questions.
Yeah, and also like having them address. So just the audition itself,
so.
Exactly. Just the audition itself is like manipulation because like you're like forcing somebody to come in and perform like their best, like dress your best.
It's also for sexual ends. So to me, that's also a sexual deviance.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was just gonna say just the audition itself is the manipulation, but then once we see the audition, like the things that they're asking, and like and like take your clothes off and let me examine you, and how many partners have you had?
I don't know.
And
I think even just the audition is sexual because there's no reason for them to hold that fake audition except for sexual gratification for one of them.
I mean, in the end, most of the auditions, like not everyone gets naked. I think it's just like one girl who randomly gets naked. So like that's not a normal thing. But of course, in the end, that is something that
and
is
even
supposed
like
to happen, I guess. But
and when it got like to the main chick, I mean, there was like nothing really sexual about it. He like asked her about her dancing and like
it's because he was already in love with her.
Well,
in his mind, he's romanticizing this too.
You could have had an aspect of the audition that I guess wasn't so overtly sexual, but it ended up being anyway. So that's why I say you could attribute like to those two factors separately. So I would give it to that guy. Well,
I gotta go with the uncle on this one.
Well, I mean, I was just saying. Oh, you were off screen for a bit. I was gonna say like if we had to exclude him because we don't know much about him. Like we don't know. I was thinking if we were trying to stick with like a main character who we like has a name and like stuff like that, then I would give it more to the friend than like to like the husband or to the dad or anything like that.
Here's
But I mean,
I agree with you. I agree that the uncle. It's got to be the uncle for me. But I just to add something that we didn't cover, but I just remembered. There Oyama has an assistant that we meet like at 2 points in this movie.
Oh yeah.
We completely forgot about this.
That's true.
He has slept with his assistant. And we don't know that at first. At first, she comes in and says, "Hey, I'm getting married," and there's some weird tension in the air. And he's like, "Oh, okay, great, congratulations." And he kind of walks away, and we're like, "What the fuck is that? Is there an affair or what's going on?" But they don't come back to it until he's in his dream state later on, and he's basically confronted with all of his demons, which includes him having slept with this girl once, her obviously expecting something in return from him or expecting it to continue, but her just being a mistake to him and his guilt over doing that. We don't know if that happened during his marriage. We don't know if that happened. Yeah. We don't know anything about that. But like just since we're racking up sexual deviancy points on people, I think that's
true. I did completely forget all about that.
That's almost like an afterthought in general because there's so much else to focus on.
Yeah.
But it is worth noting that he's at least left some women high and dry for after he got his nut. Like.
So it sounds like we're landing on the friend barring the uncle because we don't even really know if that's actually the uncle.
I would say whoever that guy is.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
As a viewer, speaking strictly as a viewer, I don't know who that guy is specifically, but I know that at 2 points he burns a young woman or a little girl in between their legs with fucking red hot pokers or some shit. and he's like beating off while he watches her like
He is beating off.
Yeah, he beats
Yeah,
off
he
watching
is.
her like,
I
chop
forgot
off
about that.
legs and
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah, that
Like-
seals it. That's
Yeah.
He
Yeah, all right,
smiles.
yeah, let's
He's,
go ahead and lock
smiling
that
and playing piano when she chops off his fucking head later too. So
He also, I mean, for the attire, he's got crazy feet. I'm gonna.
I mean, they're wooden.
wooden feet.
But they're
It
wooden,
doesn't
but they're
have
like
feet.
But they're
molded.
also like wild looking.
Yeah.
They're like built into
Sweet.
shoes or they're wild. And I'm gonna throw that. Like if you saw that, you would be like, oh shit, that
Yeah.
might be a cooter right there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
He
that's
also
the code.
says something to Oyama where he's like, oh, have you been with her? Have you seen her? Have you smelled her?
That was
And I'm like,
gross.
oh,
That was weird.
that guy's the fucking cooter. I don't think. we can
Yeah,
bar-
okay, that's true. There's a lot of potential cooters in this movie, but yeah, that dude
He's
takes the cake for
documenting
sure.
it all, but he's the cooter of the week. He's got
Question mark, man.
Question mark, man. Okay, let's get into a little bit of horror news right quick. All right, y'all. I got a few things. So Krasinski, he's over here running his mouth about A Quiet Place 2. I guess he's super stoked to write and direct the sequel. So it's gonna be released on May 15th, 2020. He goes on to say that I don't even see it as a sequel. Apparently his
Why is
wife.
that?
his-
I love
well,
that expression.
I don't even see it as a sequel.
My name is
John
Krasinski.
Emily
Rob seems
Blunt-
to be going into this with some kind of like.
Yeah.
Rob's already
I
jaded.
have
Apparently,
thoughts.
I don't know what's going on.
I
Did
have
you not like
thoughts.
Quiet Place, Rob?
I did
did?
like it for sure. I don't want to see a sequel about it.
I don't
just
really want to see
don't.
a sequel either.
It was a one-hit
Yeah,
wonder.
and I don't
for them,
particularly
so.
either.
It's just like the world that they built is cool, but it's far from airtight. And like the sequel is, according to like what I'm reading, is supposed to like broaden their world that they built and like get more into what's going on. Because you're sort of like the first movie is all about this one family and like their secluded experience. So I guess I would assume you're maybe going to see some other families or something, or like other creatures and so. I just
You're
feel
probably
like
going to find out.
they're going to build this world that's not airtight.
They're probably going to build this world where everything was caused because Ryan made a bad science project and everybody has to worry about the effeminate
God
dean.
damn.
All right, Randy.
The effeminate dean's going to come in stroking his cat saying, "You have to stop!
All right.
You have to stop, you sound demons! You got to stop it!"
When you pitch it like that, I'm all in.
Happy Death Day to us all.
To us all. I don't know. Anybody excited for this? Anybody?
I feel
Not
like
particularly excited, but I'm not giving him as much shit. I mean, he wrote and directed the first one. I liked it. Like I thought it was a solid movie. So let him try again.
Becky?
I'm
Yeah.
more excited for like Haunting or Hill House coming out again,
Yeah.
and the Jordan
Yeah.
Peele movie, things like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
eh.
To me, it's like he's going back to a semi-successful well, so there's not a lot for me to be excited about there. Traditionally speaking, sequels that come from sort of like what is to my mind, sort of like a medium, high medium film, like they don't usually go that well. So I'm just not anticipating it being as good or better than the original. So
Gave me a Cloverfield vibe, and I feel like it'll be Cloverfield again, but like the Netflix one.
Cloverfield, we're back.
Cloverfield. Yeah. We'll see. Maybe it'll be awesome, and I'll be eating my words, but I'm not super excited.
Let's hope
about it.
so. I mean, and I like John Krasinski, so there's no ill will towards him. I just
Yeah. No, he's fine. Yeah.
got like I don't know. I'm hedging I'm hedging my hype bets on that one.
Oh boy.
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to bring up, Becky just mentioned, actually, it's going to be the next season for The Haunting of Hill House, which is going to be titled The Haunting of Bly Manor. And it's going to be an adaptation of Henry James's The Turn of the Screw. So this is based on like another novel, which I have not read. Or it's a novella, I guess I should say. And it's about a governess who is caring for 2 children at a remote estate, and she becomes convinced that the grounds are haunted. So it's similar, but I like that it's based on another book. I don't know. Maybe
That is-
maybe
that
that's
is-
going to be a kind of the premise of the series. That'd be kind of cool.
Like American Horror Story-esque, like different,
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
idea, different things or whatever. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty lukewarm on that idea too. I was pretty unhappy with the idea that they would go back to Hill House at all.
Yeah.
You know, some people mentioned like, oh, they can explore all the other ghosts that are there and why they're there, and I'm like, I think that house is so specific to the Crane family that it would do the first season a disservice to even go back to it. But just to basically tell everybody, okay, it's sort of like what Krasinski's doing, where it's almost like a parallel sort of thing, where you can sort of expect the same sort of thrills and chills theoretically, but you're not necessarily going to tarnish the original's reputation or those characters from the original and sort of complicate what we've already seen. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that from John Krasinski as well. And again, like, good luck to him. I'm not super excited about that, but I feel like Rob, the fact that this came from a novella that was news to me just now, even though I heard it coming out, that does inspire me a little bit more faith in this production. And I was so in love with that first one that I would be excited to see like a mediocre version of it if it came out with a mediocre season. So
yeah, same. Cool. The last bit of news I have here is in regards to something that I mentioned on what we've been watching. So Eli Roth, History of Horror, all that is on Shudder now, which is where I watched it. It originally aired on AMC last October. So you're going to be able to listen to all of the interviews that Eli Roth did to make that show, basically. You're going to be able to hear them uncut and uncensored. So they're... I guess they're going to be in podcast form. I'm a little confused about this. They're going to be in podcast form, but you're able to listen to them on the Shudder platform, I guess. So I guess you can just like play it, and there's going to be no audio or no visuals to it. It's just going to be audio only. So
what kind of idiot puts something with no visuals and just sound on a video platform?
On YouTube,
right? Anyway, I guess I've just never done that on Shudder before, but I guess they have other podcasts on there. This is news to me. Anyway, it's going to be called Eli Roth's History of Horror Uncut. There's going to be one show that you can find on iTunes and wherever you find your podcast, and I guess that's just to entice you to sign up for Shudder, basically, so you can hear the other 11 episodes of it. So episode 1 is going to be his talk with Stephen King, and that's going to be the one that's available across all platforms. So again, just look for Eli Roth's History of Horror Uncut, and you'll be able to hear him talk to Stephen King for however long they talk. I don't know how long they're going to be.
God, I wish Cesar was here to do the Stephen King voice.
he has a gift. The man has a gift. And they're going to be, so the rest of the episodes are going to be, I guess they're going to be posted twice weekly, one on Monday and one on Friday from here on out until they're all posted. And there's a total of 12. So yeah, check that out. If you like the show, you can listen to all these interviews and whatnot. Again, Eli Roth, just make Thanksgiving and then retire. Just do it.
God.
Just do it.
God damn. Don't even make more of the show that you just praised?
Nah, don't. You're good. You're done.
Okay, well, damn. Eli, you got your marching orders. Time to walk quietly into the night, motherfucker.
Uh-huh.
Rob has dictated.
can't wait for Rob's movies Rob hates. We know where to pull from on that one.
Man, there's a pretty rich well there.
All Eli Roth movies.
Ooh, gracious. That'll be a fun month. That's it for the news. Let's go ahead and get into our new voicemail segment here. What's it
called?
There's some disparity on what it's called now. So last week, Randy, you were out, and Justin definitively said this is what we're going to call this segment from here on out. But then you started designing stuff with a totally different name
he did,
on it.
Did he?
So now, I don't know, designer kind of has carte blanche.
What did Randy design? What did he design? What is it? This isn't a visual medium.
It is a visual medium, motherfucker. We have set this up. So should I make this announcement? Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
So Just in sort of anticipation, we're hotly anticipating several more voicemails as time comes, and we just want to be prepared for the eventuality that we just don't have time to cover everybody at one time. So we have set it up so that we will be releasing sort of whatever overflow we don't get to, we'll be releasing via our Instagram. It's at straight. Is it at what is?
Yes, Straight Chilling
at
Podcast.
At Straight Chilling Podcast.
Yeah.
I was just making sure. I was like, it's one of them is STR8, so I don't know, but
Twitter.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, if you go to our Instagram and check out our story, some days, no telling when exactly, we will have some overflow messages from the further. So, a place I like to call
The Further. So
what's it called? Messages from the Further? That's what it's called?
Messages from a place I like to call the Further.
Is that seriously what it's called?
That's what it's called, motherfucker. Fight me.
All right.
It sounds bulky, but I will say when you read it, it's very funny. Like the way Randy designed it, because he's a fucking professional. It looks clean and it made me chuckle. I liked it.
I'm here to make you chuckle and send me your goddamn voicemails. Tell me what you think about our shit and tell us what you think about fucking Audition. Would you rather have shit stuck in your eyes or feet chopped off? What's your pleasure? Would you rather?
Would you rather eat a bowl of vomit or spend 24 hours in a burlap sack?
Burlap sack all the way.
All the way. Team Burlap Sack over here. Bringing it hot.
B-sack. So Justin was trying to call it Hotline and Scream, which is a little more streamlined, but Randy designed shit. So I don't know.
Listen to hip hop.
Hippity hop.
Oh,
So,
Randy.
We got a
good
couple.
thing you're not a marketer.
voicemails. Oh, God. We got a couple voicemails from the Further here. So yeah, this is something we started a couple episodes ago. You can call in, leave a voicemail, let us know how much we suck. If you want to do that, the number that you can call is 904-638-3231. So we've got a couple here that we're going to play. First one up, we're going to listen to our boy Chad.
It looks like you deleted these voicemails, so I cannot listen to them currently.
I was just listening.
Chad. So Chad is one of our Patreon subscribers, and he has been on the show once before. He's a local fellow, and so the first time I listened to that voicemail, I was like, oh, Chad sounds like maybe he's a little bit sick or something. I'm not totally sure. And then he took a screenshot of our hotline number on his phone, and it's labeled as Straight Chilling Hotline. In parentheses, it says call while drunk. So he was just very drunk when he left that voicemail.
That's a good man right there.
That should just be the streamline for everyone across the board. Go ahead, plug us into your phone with that preface.
If you want to call us, you better be shit-faced. That's mandated.
After he left the voicemail, he just texted me and said, sorry, I've been day drinking.
There's no reason to apologize for that, Montfrere.
Fantastic. So, Chad, yeah, he's in the Society Blu-ray that I picked up. Chad knows people. He knows people that work for Arrow Video, which, he's big dick swinging over here. So he gets a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff. He inspires me to build my collection. It's not big enough.
Build your collection. Build it. It's not add upon it. Oh my God. Bob's Blu-rays are out of hand. Mind you, I don't see them I have 6-month gaps. So Rob has a lot of time to shock me again each time I come into town. Bob. Good Lord.
Gracious. Well, thanks for calling, Chad. Especially double thanks for calling Wasted. It's always good to hear from you, man. Next up, we're going to hear from a little person we like to call Stalker Stacy.
A little person.
Dubbed by Rob. Me and Rob approved.
Only Rob approved.
Only, yeah. Rob exclusive.
Randy.
Stacy, you give in too
alone.
easy. You give in way too fucking.
Inside Randy.
Throwing
Straighten your
Randy
back
under the
and
bus.
speak your truth. You said this movie is nice. It's nice is not a very ringing endorsement, and by my standards, unless
You
you're
know what?
watching.
There was, I don't know. There was some holes in Randy. I know you listened to it, Randy, but like there were way more kills than just people getting shot in the chest. Even like the last kill was pretty interesting, where the dude gets like sucked into the magneted thing, and she lets.
I did forget about that, and I agree. That was a cool kill, but I
Cool.
I can't remember any specific kills, not suicides, that were interesting.
The cat
Ryan got
machine.
stabbed in the chest. The one chick got stabbed when they were going through the construction area of the hospital. I don't know. It's not fresh in my mind
the
anymore.
fact that I can't remember more than that is not a great sign. And it still speaks to my point that most of the kills in that movie are very straightforward, uncreative kills.
Yeah, the more creative stuff I think were definitely the suicides in the montage.
And they were played for laughs, which I didn't really.
For sure.
So,
it's way more a comedy than it is a horror movie. And if you're expecting a horror movie, that's kind of a kick to the nuts for sure.
Like I don't want to get too deep into it because I spilled my whole fucking rage seed onto Slack. Check it out if you're interested.
Rage seed.
And yeah, I woke up one day and it was like, I don't know, I typed it out. It was like 79 missed mess, and it was all within like the span of like when I had been sleeping, and I was like, well, I don't think I could catch up on this. I
just had like this moment like you had about Halloween, Justin, where I was like, I don't understand why this movie is getting any praise at all. I don't understand why people are like so into this movie. Not that, but I don't know why they're so into this movie.
Yeah.
Like, and some people were saying on our last cast, like, well, I think it was you. It was like, well, I'm kind of like rating this movie and the first one. I was like, no, those are separate movies, man. Like, the first movie is okay. This movie is not. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I had points, and I can read you the whole thesis. I can defend my thesis, but I'm not going to do that now because we're going to run forever long. So
yeah, as much as I appreciate Stacy calling in and like kind of rethinking it, I just stick to your guns. You know, if you didn't like it, that's cool. And as much as
everybody's throwing everybody under the bus here.
As much as I want Randy to stand on his own, she did say, you know, she kind of changed her mind, but then she went on to say, like, you know,
say negatives.
To say negatives. You know, she could totally date this dude in this new universe and like still be with her mom and stuff too. And that's a fair point.
Cheated on, and she doesn't like her in the first place. So just let them break up and then be there.
And they're totally like kissing in the end, anyways. Like that's totally a fair criticism for sure.
That was my point, so I'm just super convincing, you know. That's all it is, you know. That's all it is. That's all we're dealing with
somehow
here.
You convinced them that
Stacy under the bus.
That it was right.
I'm not throwing her under the bus.
You somehow convinced Stacy that the movie wasn't so bad because of things it did wrong, and I don't understand how that works.
No. That well.
Oh, this is a whole rabbit hole. This is yeah.
We appreciate your input, Stacy. There's plenty of room on my side for you if you ever want to come back.
The dark side. Yeah, Stacy, thanks for calling, and thank you for telling Randy he's a dipshit. Always appreciate that.
Everyone appreciates that.
Everybody. So again, if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can reach us at 904-638-3231. That's going to do it for us here at Straight Chilling Podcast this week. We're going to be back next week with a new show. As always, we're going to be talking about a little movie it's a Patreon pick by the one, the only Hydraberg. It's a movie called The Entity. Hydraberg.
Did you say The Entity or Entity?
The Entity.
Okay.
So it's a movie I don't think any of us have seen. It's also like kind of hard to hunt down because these fucking nerds on eBay, they scooped up all the DVD copies because it's out of print. So you got to pay like
really
$1 billion to
Rod's ass. I can't
off.
get that, you know, the steel box.
Scarcity. God, how am I going to get the steel boxes?
I need the steel square version of it.
I need the steel square version with the art by Salvador Dali on the front.
But yeah, it does kind of chat my ass, to be honest. Yeah, we're talking about.
Your honesty is appreciated.
We're talking about The Entity. Regardless of these eBay nerds. Until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You know, it's been a little while since we've got an earnest rating and review on iTunes. That shit truly does help us out. It helps people find the show that don't know we exist, and it's an easy way to support the show. It just takes a minute or two of your time to do it, and we fucking love it when you do it.
Shoot over some algorithm. I've heard
Yeah.
that people giving us algorithm is really helpful.
Shoot. Just an algorithm.
You can send it by UPS if you need to. Send us some algorithm, and we'll figure out how to put it onto the MacBook. So we got it.
Yeah.
Algorithm us.
Yeah, that's something I'm curious about too. When you call that hotline scream, maybe let us know. Do you listen to us on iTunes? Do you listen to us on Spotify? Do you listen to us? Where are you listening from?
Right outside our window, Stalker Stacy. I see you.
Ah!
I don't know.
I lost you guys again.
Oh yeah, I saw you froze.
God. Oh God.
Justin, you were about to say something. I don't know what it was.
It's all right.
He was about
YouTubers
to
will get it.
falsify the name of the messages from the further. So.
Oh, Randy. Oh, Lord.
I'm gonna get Lynn Shay. Rob, is Lynn Shay gonna be at?
I think Bob's gone again.
God, he is gone again.
Yeah, he's gone.
Bob's gonna have to close out.
Longest
Sure.
YouTube
We're
on
chilling.
our channel.
Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. Huh?
You
Keep
froze
going.
for us. I guess you're in the middle of your shit. We were gone.
Yeah, I was.
Said, "Fuck
in the
this
middle.
Rob, just close out the show. Just close it out.
End it.
All right.
End the pain.
All right. Hit us up on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review. You can find us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. We're on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. Hit us up on Patreon. Hit us up on our Slack channel. If you want to join the Slack channel, just let me know via one of those many social media platforms I just mentioned, and I'll send you a link so you can hop on there. We talk about the movie of the week and various other spooky things. We talk about music. We talk about all kinds of fun shit throughout the entire week. Hit us up on YouTube, youtube.com/straightchillingpodcast. Hit us up on Twitch, and I think that's everything. So until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, keep chilling.
Diggy, 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 diggy.
Tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick.
A lot of work in post on that one.